Damien Cole didn't buy expensive things impulsively. He read reviews. He compared specs. He waited for sales. He checked return policies like they were contracts, because they were. When you didn't have money to burn, you didn't treat purchases like guesses. So when the Auralux Pro wireless headphones arrived and sounded wrong, thin bass, random crackle in the left ear cup, Damien didn't try to get used to it. He tested them on 2 devices, reset them, updated firmware, and when nothing fixed it, he did the responsible thing. He returned them. Damien was black, 34, and a week away from a long flight to see his mother. He'd wanted the headphones for that trip, noise canceling, comfort, peace. Instead, he got a defect and a return process that felt like a trap. The online store was North Bay Electronics, a sleek site that promised hassle-free returns. Their policy said refunds processed within 5 to 7 business days after the warehouse received the return. Damien followed every step. He requested the return through the portal. He printed the label. He packed the headphones in the original box, then double-boxed it with bubble wrap. He took photos, item inside, serial number, sealed package, label visible, because he'd learned that lost and missing claims were always easier to fight when you had a timeline. He dropped the box at a shipping counter on Monday at 10:18 a.m. The clerk scanned it and handed him a receipt with a tracking number. Damien saved it. By Friday, the tracking page showed, "Delivered, received by warehouse dock, 1:42 p.m." Damien waited the weekend, being patient on purpose. On Wednesday, 5 business days later, he checked his bank account. No refund. He opened North Bay's return portal. Return status: in transit. Damien frowned. He clicked tracking from the portal. It still said delivered. So why was their system still showing in transit? Damien opened chat support. A bubble appeared. "Hi, I'm Kelsey. How can I help today?" Damien typed calmly, "Hi. My return tracking shows delivered to your warehouse on Friday at 1:42 p.m., but my return portal still says in transit and no refund has been issued. Can you confirm receipt and process the refund?" A minute later, "Kelsey, I'm sorry to hear that. Let me check." 3 dots. Then, "Kelsey, our system shows we have not received your return yet. Please wait until it arrives." Damien stared at the screen. He typed carefully, "Tracking shows delivered. It was scanned as received at your warehouse dock. I have the drop-off receipt and the delivery scan." Kelsey responded, "Delivery scans are not proof of receipt. Sometimes carriers mark items delivered early. Please allow more time." Damien felt heat rise, sharp and insulting. Delivered early? 5 days ago. He kept his tone calm. "It was delivered to your warehouse address and marked received by dock. Can you check the return scan in your warehouse system? It should have an inbound scan." Kelsey replied quickly, "We do not have access to warehouse scans. Refunds are only issued once the warehouse processes the return. Please wait." Damien's jaw tightened. He could feel the loop forming, the support script designed to outlast the customer. He stayed calm and asked for escalation. "Please escalate this. If the carrier scan shows delivered, then either the package is in your possession or it was lost after delivery. Either way, I need a resolution." Kelsey's next message took longer. Then, "I can open an investigation. Please allow 10 to 14 business days." Damien blinked. Investigation meant delay. It meant the refund, his money, would sit in limbo while the company hid behind time. He typed, still calm, "I don't agree to a 10 to 14-day delay when the package is already delivered. Please provide a written confirmation that you will refund once inbound scan is verified, and tell me what proof you require." Kelsey replied, "We require the item to be received at our warehouse. At this time, We have not received it. Damien stared at those words. They weren't saying, we're processing it. They weren't saying, we're checking. They were saying flatly, we never got it. As if the tracking scan didn't exist. As if the package evaporated at their door. Damien closed the chat before his frustration could spill into something they could label abusive. He opened the carrier tracking page again and clicked View Proof of Delivery. It showed the delivery time, the location, and a tiny note. Return scan. Arrived at North Bay Returns. Dock 3 return scan. That phrase mattered. Because delivered was one thing. But return scan sounded like the carrier had scanned it into a returns intake process, not just dropped it on a curb. Damien took a screenshot immediately. Then he looked at the label information. The Return Merchandise Authorization Number, RMA, printed near the barcode. If the warehouse was pretending the return wasn't received, then the only way to force the truth was to link the carrier scan to the RMA, prove that this package with this return ID was physically scanned at their dock. Damien opened his email and searched North Bay Return Label. He found it. RMA number, tracking number, date created. He printed everything. Then he wrote a new message, short, tight, factual, and sent it to North Bay support email instead of chat. Tracking shows delivered to your returns dock. Proof of delivery indicates return scan arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. RMA and tracking numbers attached. Request immediate refund or confirmation of loss after receipt. He attached screenshots and the drop-off receipt. He hit send, and then he sat back, staring at the quiet screen, feeling the old familiar frustration. Companies love to say, hassle-free. But the moment money flowed back toward the customer, hassle became policy. Damien wasn't going to scream. He wasn't going to beg. He was going to do what he always did when someone tried to erase his reality with a sentence. He was going to bring proof. And this time, the proof wasn't just delivered. It was a return scan that said, it arrived. Damien woke up Thursday morning to a single new email from North Bay Electronics. No greeting, no apology, just a subject line that felt like a door closing. Return not received. Case number 118402. He opened it and read the same sentence he'd already seen in chat, now dressed up as official. Our records indicate your return has not been received at our warehouse. Refund cannot be issued until the item is received and inspected. Damien stared at the screen until the anger cooled into clarity. This wasn't confusion anymore. This was a position, a claim they were willing to repeat because they assumed it would end the conversation. Damien took a slow breath and replied, still calm, but sharper and more structured than before. He attached the same documents again, plus one new thing, a zoomed-in screenshot of the carrier's proof of delivery showing. Return scan, arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. He wrote, your email states, not received. Carrier proof shows, return scan, arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3, on date, chart time. This is not a generic delivered status. It is a return intake scan at your facility. Please, 1. Confirm whether Dock 3 intake logs match this scan. 2. Issue the refund today. Or 3. Confirm in writing that the item was lost after arriving at your dock so I can file a claim for misplacement after receipt. Then he waited, not passively, strategically. He set a timer for 2 hours. Because he'd learned that delays were a weapon, and the best way to beat a weapon was to stop treating it like normal time. At the 2-hour mark, no response. Damien didn't go back to chat. He called. North Bay's customer service line had the usual maze. Press 1, press 2, wait, music, cheerful reminders about self-service options. After 12 minutes, a representative answered. North Bay Customer Care, this is Ethan. Ethan sounded young, white, and already tired. Like the day had started with angry customers and would end the same way. Damien kept his tone calm. Hi, Ethan. I'm calling about a return that your system claims you never received. The carrier proof of delivery shows return scan arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. I need you to check your inbound scan logs using my RMA. Ethan paused. We don't have access to warehouse logs. Damien didn't argue. Then transfer me to someone who does, or a supervisor who can contact the returns team. Ethan exhaled. Sir, the policy is, we wait for warehouse processing. Damien cut in gently, controlled. This isn't processing. This is denial of receipt. Those are different. If it arrived at Dock 3, it was received. If you can't locate it now, that's a loss after receipt. Ethan went quiet for a beat. Hold on. Music again. Damien waited, staring at the printed documents on his table like they were evidence in a trial. When Ethan returned, his tone had shifted, less confident. Okay, Ethan said. I can see the tracking on our side. Damien kept his voice steady. And what does it show? Ethan hesitated. It shows delivered, but our returns portal still shows in transit. Damien's jaw tightened. That's your system mismatch. Ethan replied, It could be the carrier marked it delivered early. Damien didn't raise his voice. Dock 3 is your address. The carrier logged a return scan at your dock. If you want to claim it wasn't received, you're claiming the carrier scan is false. Ethan was quiet. Damien continued, calm and precise. I need you to open the proof of delivery detail. The line that says, return scan. Read it. Ethan clicked. Damien heard faint keyboard tapping. Then Ethan said, slower. It says, arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. Damien exhaled once. Thank you. Ethan tried to recover. That still doesn't guarantee the warehouse processed it. Damien replied evenly. I'm not asking about processing. I'm asking about receipt. And your email says, not received. That statement is not accurate. Ethan hesitated. Okay, let me get my supervisor. A new voice came on the line. Female, white, mid-40s, crisp tone that sounded trained to end calls quickly. This is Marissa, support supervisor. I understand you're disputing a return status. Damien stayed calm. Yes, your team is refusing my refund by claiming the return was not received. The carrier proof shows return scan arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. That means it arrived at your facility. I need the refund issued or a written admission that it was lost after arriving at your dock. Marissa's tone was controlled. We rely on warehouse confirmation. Damien didn't argue emotionally. And your warehouse confirmation is delayed because your intake scan is not linked to my RMA. That's an internal problem. I cannot be penalized for your intake workflow. Marissa paused. You said you have the RMA number. Damien gave it. Marissa typed. Damien heard the clicking, then a small pause. Then she said, quieter. I see the return label was generated. Damien nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Yes. Marissa continued. But I don't see it received. Damien's voice stayed steady. Because it's sitting in an exception state. Check the carrier scan chain. It arrived at Dock 3. If your RMA didn't attach, that's not on me. Marissa's tone tightened. Sir, you're making assumptions about our internal systems. Damien replied calmly. I'm reading the proof you told me doesn't count. Now we're on the phone and your own agent read it aloud. It arrived. That's not an assumption. Silence. Then Marissa said, clipped. One moment. Damien waited again. Music, then dead air, then music. When Marissa returned, the control in her voice had changed. Not softer, more careful. "Mr. Cole," she said, "we're going to issue a refund as a one-time exception." Damien's jaw tightened. One-time exception was how companies avoided admitting fault. Damien kept his tone calm. "It's not an exception. It's what your policy already promises when returns arrive." Marissa didn't respond to that. She continued, "You'll see the refund in 3 to 5 business days." Damien held steady. "I want an email confirmation today stating the refund is approved due to carrier return scan arrival at your dock." Marissa paused. "We can send a confirmation that a refund was initiated." "Send it," Damien said. Marissa exhaled. "Okay, you'll receive an email shortly." The email arrived 2 minutes after the call ended. "Refund initiated. North Bay Electronics." No mention of Dock 3. No mention of the not received claim. Just corporate language that pretended the fight never happened. Damien saved it anyway. Then he opened his original case email and replied one last time with one sentence. "For your records. Carrier return scan. Arrived at North Bay Returns, Dock 3. Confirms receipt." He attached the proof again. Not because he expected them to thank him, but because he wanted the truth sitting in their thread forever, so nobody could pretend later that they never knew. Damien leaned back and stared at the wall for a moment, letting the adrenaline drain. He didn't feel victorious. He felt tired. Tired of having to argue with systems designed to erase your reality with a sentence. But he also felt something else. Small, steady, useful. He'd learned the pressure point. Delivered, could be debated. But a return scan at the company's own dock? That was harder to dismiss. Dock 3 didn't lie. People did.